Yes, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Bloomfield Board of Education for our December 12th meeting. Would you please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Bolton, would you please read our opening statement?
Good evening. As the Secretary of the Bloomfield Board of Education, I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present and to our television viewers. The board, superintendent, and I are pleased that you have joined us as we celebrate achievement, review information, and make policy decisions related to the effective operation of the Bloomfield Public Schools. This is a regular meeting, and all items that will be discussed or voted on this evening have been posted as required by state law. As the Bloomfield Board of Education, we are here to set goals, listen to reports of the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, and personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. We are not here to make management decisions or solve the problems of individuals. Management is the responsibility of the superintendent. Meetings of the Board of Education are open to the public. It is the time when the board conducts its business of governing the school system in a public arena. The regular meetings are not meetings with the public. Therefore, comments from the audience will be confined to the time designated for the public to address the board. Decorum and courtesy are important elements of an effective public meeting. Please silence your cell phones or communication devices and refrain from talking while others are speaking. Since it is legally mandated that proceedings are accurately recorded, the board chair may have to ask for order periodically should noise begin to interfere with our recording capabilities. I am pleased that you have taken the time this evening to join us, and we are very proud of this school system, and thank you for your interest in the Bloomfield Public Schools.
Thank you, Mrs. Bolton. Number 4 on our agenda, consent agenda, Mr. Walters.
Yes, I move that the Bloomfield Board of Education approve the minutes from the November 11th, 2017 special board meeting as presented.
Is there a second? We're properly moved and second. Any questions, corrections, edits? Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Should have one abstention.
Yes. 2.
2. You weren't there. You were there.
At the board meeting?
This retreat.
Oh, okay.
We have one abstention. Motion passes. Mr. Walters?
Yes, I move that the Bloomfield Board of Education approve the minutes from the November 14th, 2017 regular board meeting as presented.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Are there any edits or corrections? Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? There's one. Ms. Bolton.
Yes.
Motion
Yes.
carries. Before I move into item 5, I want to take this opportunity for a point of order and recognizing an amazing accomplishment by our superintendent, Dr. James Thompson. He was awarded at the annual CAVE CAPS convention. He received the CAPS, which is the Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents, the Superintendent of the Year Award for 2017-18, which is an amazing accomplishment and quite an honor, which puts him in competition with superintendents from the other 49 states. So our congratulations to Dr. James Thompson.
you very much, Board Chair, Mr. Donald Harris, Jr.
That's right. That's right.
I know I caught you off guard. Presentations, introduction of new administrative leaders. Mr. Jocelyn.
Good evening, Chairman Harris, Superintendent Thompson, Board of Education members, viewing audience at home, and those with us this evening. I take great pleasure in introducing Jocelyn Poglich as the principal of Metacomet Elementary School. Mrs. Poglich was selected by a comprehensive search process, which included staff and parent input. There were over 60 applicants for this position. 8 candidates were interviewed by a committee consisting of staff, parents, and administration. 3 candidates were selected for a second round, in which the finalists made a presentation to the cabinet members. Ms. Poglich is an experienced elementary principal and has over 20 years as an educator in Connecticut schools. Mrs. Poglich holds a bachelor's degree in elementary education from Central Connecticut State University, a master's degree in elementary education from St. Joseph College, and a 6-year degree in educational leadership from the University of Connecticut. Mrs. Poglich will be meeting with staff, participating in several meetings before the holidays break, and will start officially on January 2nd, 2018. Mrs. Poglich.
Thank you. I just can't express how excited I am to be part of the Bloomfield Public Schools, the whole professional learning community, and I'm very much looking forward to meeting the staff, the students, and the families of Metacomet Elementary School and working together to achieve great things. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm not finished.
I know.
I also have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Dominic Greco as our new Director of Accounting. Mr. Greco has been hired to fill a vacancy that will be left, sadly, by Ms. Sandra Brown, who announced her retirement at the end of October. Sandra Brown.
Sandra Braun.
We don't have a Sandra Brown.
Yeah.
Mr. Greco has worked over the past 16 years for the City of Hartford in the Finance Department, most recently as the Manager of Revenue Management Division. Mr. Greco holds a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting from Central Connecticut State University, and he is a CPA. Mm-hmm. The committee selected Mr. Greco from a field of about 14 candidates. He's gone through 2 rounds of interviews and came out on top. We're very pleased to have Mr. Greco. Mr. Greco.
Thank you, Bill. I'll keep it short. Just want to say I'm very happy to be here. I've heard lots of wonderful things about Bloomfield, and have also read a lot of the achievement that's been done over the years. And I look forward to working with all of you in the coming days, months, years, for a long time. Thank you so much.
I did fail to mention that Mr. Greco was on board beginning yesterday, so he's hit the ground running and has had the opportunity to work alongside Sandy Braun to get up to speed. Budget season is coming.
Yeah, I heard that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And to present our student representative report from Global Experience Magnet School, Ms. Tiana Frazier.
Good evening. My name is Tiana Frazier, and I will be updating you all on the current progress of GEMS. From November 8th through November 20th, a total of 13 days, 7 GEMS seniors and 2 teachers traveled 7,000 miles just north of the equator to the gorgeous country that is Costa Rica. Students traveled here in order to obtain insight on Costa Rica's culture and geography, as well as to interact with students their age to compare and contrast their lives inside and outside of school. Their first night in Liberia, Guanacaste, Costa Rica, students divulged themselves in the country's culture through trying authentic Costa Rican cuisine at a restaurant. On a different day, the students headed over to a farm to experience horseback riding in the dry forest. The seniors toured Senate, a private school in Liberia. While there, they were able to collect data and interview students as part of their capstone project. Talk to students around their age about the differences and similarities to the U.S. and Costa Rica school system, teach Senate's 8th and 9th graders about the U.S. educational system, and watch Senate's 4th, 5th, and 6th graders play a handball match in the nation semifinals, which they won. On November 11th, seniors woke up bright and early for an early morning hike in the National Volcano Park rainforest along the Rio de Celeste, where they saw a variety of frogs and insects during a strenuous 2-mile hike. Wow. But they say the view was worth it. And at the end of the day, they were able to spend time cooling off in the natural hot springs at the base of the Areno volcano. Students experienced even more of Costa Rica's wildlife through their second hike of the trip to the Mystico Areno Hanging Bridges Park, where they learned about the variety of vegetation and animals in the rainforest. Next, the seniors toured the Don Juan coffee plantation to learn about the process of making coffee, started with raw cocoa seeds from the trees to the packaging and production. Students were even able to try the raw cocoa seeds. Students spent a nice amount of time by the water, but not just for snorkeling and relaxing. They visited the Osantonio Wildlife Refuge to observe olive ridleys, turtles, as they lay their eggs on the beach and depart for the ocean, and even took a riverboat tour to get a look at Costa Rica's wetland creatures. A senior that attended this trip, Keith Caesar, had plenty to say about his experience. Costa Rica gave me time to think about myself and reevaluate the group of people around me. I also now have a deeper understanding for the culture of people of Latin and Hispanic descent. Being around the community more than I already am allowed me to see why they act different and eat the things that they eat. With having less internet connection, I had to talk and interact with not only my fellow students, but also my new environment. Lastly, I was able to expand upon my own passions, such as photography. With all the extra time on my hands, I was able to strengthen my skills. It is our goal at GEMS for students not only to learn about the world around them on these experiences, but to learn about themselves. And it is evident through Keith's statement that that's exactly what we're doing. Next is the Washington, D.C. field trip. From November 1st to November 4th, a total of 4 days, GEMS freshman class visited and toured our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., to learn about the government, sightsee, visit museums, try new foods, and visit important landmarks. On their first day, students spent some time walking around and absorbing all the information the Smithsonian museums had to offer. Later on in the evening, they went on an evening sightseeing tour through Washington, D.C., exploring the Lincoln Memorial, the Korean War Veterans Memorial, and the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. On their second day, students went to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, where they toured the permanent exhibit and met a survivor, who they then listened to detail their experience of the Holocaust. In addition, they visited the United States Marine Corps War Memorial, the Martin Luther King Jr. National Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, the World War II Memorial, the Washington Monument, and the White House. Later that night, they headed to Alexandria for a tour of the Arlington National Cemetery and Legends of Alexandria Ghost Tour. On day 3, students went to the National Zoo, the Smithsonian Museum, the National Archives Building, and the Smithsonian museums that they hadn't visited before. On their last day, students went to U.S. Capitol Building tour and Visitor Center, the Library of Congress, and the U.S. Supreme Court. These are just a few pictures of our freshmen on their trip. Okay. Next, I would, SATs, okay. Me and SAT scores. GEMS high school students took the PSATs and SATs on October 11, 2017. We have been notified that the senior class mean SAT scores is 1,020. The Cultural Fair. On November 19th, GEMS had its first Cultural Fair. Students and their families were invited to a night full of fun, dancing, singing, and a variety of foods that can be found around the world at this event. Over 75 families attended, and approximately 200 people were in attendance. These are a few pictures of our event. Next is the shoe drive from Makaleke Village. GEMS National Honor Society chapter is hosting a shoe drive from Makaleke Village. Students and teachers are encouraged to donate any sturdy flip-flops and sneakers that they have that will be brought to the kids in Makaleke Village, South Africa during the seniors' visit there in March. Toys for Tots. GEMS National Honor Society chapter is hosting a toy drive this month. They will be accepting donations up until December 16th, and all the toys will go towards our Toys for Tots Foundation. China trip. The GEMS seniors, along with a few 10th and 11th graders, will be visiting China from April 2nd to April 13th, 2018. While there, they will sightsee, tour historical landmarks like the Great Wall of China, and divulge themselves in Chinese culture. On behalf of GEMS, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Thompson on being awarded Superintendent of the Year. It is an amazing accomplishment, and we are all extremely proud. CAVE Convention. GEMS student representatives, such as myself and Trinity Blue, along with Bloomfield High School student representatives, were able to attend a convention for the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, where we interacted with students like ourselves who are involved in our school community and want to make an impact, and listen in on seminars. Peru summer trip. It was recently announced that the 2018 GEMS Summer Habitat for Humanity trip would be in Peru. Students will spend a course of 2 weeks in late July touring Peru, divulging in its culture and history, and making a difference by completing Habitat for Humanity projects. Poetry Slam at the Bushnell. On December 4th, a few GEMS students went to the Bushnell in Hartford to attend a writer's workshop, where they practiced writing poetry, narrative stories, and advanced their skills as writers. While there, students were able to talk and learn from other writers. Ugly Sweater Dress Down. GEMS NHS chapter will be hosting a dress down on December 15th, where students pay to wear their ugly holiday sweaters, and all proceeds will go to funding a community pancake breakfast at the Bloomfield Fire Department. Human Rights Dress Down. On December 10th, GEMS National Honor Society chapter hosted a free dress down to raise awareness for human rights. Catch-up Day. On December 1st, GEMS National Honor Society hosted a catch-up day. And for this catch-up day, students would have to bring in money, or they collectively as a class raise a minimum of $30 in order to receive a free period in the class of their choosing. All proceeds went to Heifer Farms, an organization that would then use the money to send a young woman in Nepal to school. Habitat for Humanity, New Orleans. The 11th grade Habitat for Humanity trip is tentatively scheduled for March 22nd to the 29th in 2018. The chaperones work in conjunction with the students to determine where the need for help is, and this time it happens to be in New Orleans. They wanted to do Houston, but they are in the midst of the cleanup, so they aren't ready to rebuild. Student Government Update. The Student Government Association of GEMS is hosting the high school winter formal on December 15, 2017 at Vito's by the Water, and the middle school winter formal on January 5th, 2018 in the GEMS Cafe. Lastly is our clothes and books collection. GEMS is collecting clothes and old college books outside of our building, which will be donated and resold. This has been an update on the current progress of GEMS. Thank you.
I tell you, you wore me out.
That's a lot. That's great.
Comments?
Busy.
Yeah, we are very busy.
Doing a lot.
Comments?
A lot of traveling, huh?
Yes.
A lot of traveling, which really enlivens the experience of learning through text by actually going places and visiting and engaging with other peers, which is a rich learning experience.
It's excellent for growth. It's great for growth.
Yes.
And you were at the Cave Convention
Yes.
down at Mystic Marriott.
Mm-hmm.
They came in on Saturday.
Saturday, okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, Tiana, I'll let you go home and finish your homework.
Nice job.
Thank you.
So your brother.
Any public PTO comment? There is none. Superintendent's report. Dr. Silver.
Good evening, board members. Dr. Thompson. Delighted to share with you today that you have a handout in your packet that looks like this. And it is a copy of the new target charts that we have here in our conference room. And because I just want to be brief here, this is the Next Generation Accountability Report, and we've used this to identify where we are and where we want to go to. And so in this document, the blue area is provided by the Connecticut State Department of Education. And then the green and orange columns at the end are columns that we've added to understand how much we need to grow annually in order to close gaps that we have between our performance and state targets or our Bloomfield targets. And those Bloomfield targets have been set using the language of our stakeholders, which is for high expectations and rigorous academic performance. So taking the high expectations of our community, we've set our targets for ourselves, and these charts help us to understand how we're going to get to that high performance, those high expectations within the next 3 years. Okay.
These charts around the back of the room here replace the charts that we had here before that was really outdated, that really spoke to the Connecticut Mastery Test and also the CAP. So what you see here really represents next generation accountability system. And not only the charts will be here in the boardroom, we also will have them in the front lobby area. And not only that, let me take one step further. Each school will have its own chart or charts that represent each one of our elementary, intermediate, middle, and high school. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Silver.
Thank you. Financial report, Mr. Guzman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harris. I'd like to pass out the reports. The report before you is as of December 12, 2017. As you will note on the one-page summary report, approximately 4.96% of the budget has yet to be expended or encumbered. As of December 12, we have expended $15.5 million and encumbered approximately $23.7 million, leaving a balance of just under $2 million. Please note that as of this date, we have yet to receive grant notifications from the State Department of Education. Specifically, the grants that we are awaiting include the Alliance Grant, the Wintonbury Magnet School Grant, the GEMS Magnet School Grant, the Vocational Agricultural Grant, and the Special Education Excess Cost Grant. Although we have a budget, we have yet to receive the grant amounts from the state. Last year, the grant total for these 5 grants that I mentioned added up to $6.4 million. On the 6-page report before you, I just want to make mention of the adjustments to the various accounts, in particular, the salary accounts for non-certified staff members, in particular, the accounts for tutors, nurses, clerical, tech support, and maintenance personnel on pages 1 and 2 of the 6-page report. Also, please note on page 4, line 08, the tuition line account now has a balance of $264,000, where last month it had a balance of $1.28 million, which means that tuition bills are coming in, and we are encumbering the amounts accordingly. Lastly, I do want to mention that as of this afternoon, we received word that we were awarded 2 competitive grants for after-school programs totaling $283,000. These are competitive grants. Those dollars will be spent for the intermediate school and the middle school to provide additional learning and enrichment opportunities for CASE and CAM students, hopefully beginning in mid-January. That ends my report.
Any questions?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Mr. Fryman?
Mr. Guzman, you stated last year we received $6.4 million from the state.
In those 5 grants that I had delineated, yes.
And what would be our estimate for 2018 from the state? The same, a little bit more, less?
You're talking current year estimates?
17.
We're hoping that it's the same, but we've heard that they're probably going to be diminished amounts, not to a great extent, but lesser than what we received in the past.
Thank you.
Mr. Walters?
Yes, could you just go over those grants again? I know the first one was Alliance, but there were 4 others that
Yeah,
you'd mentioned.
the Alliance Grant, the Wintonbury Magnet School Grant, the Global Experience Magnet School Grant, Vocational Agricultural Grant, and the Special Education Excess Cost Grant. Those are the 5, and last year they totaled $6.44 million.
So if we don't get that 6.4 million, how will it affect the budget? How will it affect these grants? We have to cut back on something? What will happen?
Well, let's find out what the amounts are, and then we will make the adjustments accordingly. We don't think it's a lesser, the reduced amount is going to be anything significantly large, so we'll make the adjustments accordingly. We've been monitoring this budget from day one extremely closely because of the fact that it took the state 4 months to pass the budget. And as you know, we've been on a budget freeze since September 1st, and we continue on that budget freeze. The business department personnel, Sandy Braun, Alyssa Pierce, and now Dominic Greco, and I meet periodically to review the status of this year's budget just to see where we are in terms of the entire budget, trying to forecast month by month where we're going to be.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ike?
The tuition, what's the number? Number of tuitions we paid for?
The number that...
Yeah. Where did we pay the money? And what was the number of students that we paid the tuition for?
I think that the number, well, we have
You're talking about
tuition.
magnet schools, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Can you list the
magnet
magnet schools that we paid, or can you provide that information and the number of students?
I can provide that information for the next meeting. I can tell you right now, for magnet school tuition students, we have approximately 400 in that area for which we pay tuition. And as you know, some of those children receive special education services that add to that tuition amount. I don't have that exact number with me now, but I can certainly get that for the members of the board.
Thank you.
Other questions? Ms.
So for
Davis?
Yes, sir. For clarification, the 400 magnet school students that we have, you're saying in addition we pay for special needs, special education for those as well?
Yes. Yes. those students who attend magnet schools for which we pay tuition, and the average tuition amount is about $4,500. If a child that attends a magnet school has special ed needs that are being satisfied and met by the magnet school, those fees are underwritten by us as well. So that's an additional amount above and beyond the $4,500. Yes.
Other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Old business. We have 3 policies up for second reading. Mr. Guzman and Dr. Silver, what's your pleasure?
Good evening. The first policy is student records confidentiality. There weren't tremendous changes to this. We had discussed them in our committee meeting, our policy committee meeting, 2 different times. And the change in this student records is that the new language in the policy ensures that parents who are incarcerated also have access, when appropriate, to their children's information.
Okay, Mr. Walters?
Yes, I move to recommend to the Board of Education a second reading of Policy 5125, Student Records Confidentiality.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Any questions? Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstentions? Motion passes. Number 2.
The next policy is physical restraint and seclusion. Again, these are policies that were presented to the policy committee on October 24th and presented to the full Board of Education for its consideration as a first reading, initial reading on November 14th. This policy is a result of a public act that was passed by the General Assembly, Public Act 17220. And basically, it says that it reduces the number of district employees who are required to receive training and professional development in physical restraint and seclusion of students. It used to be that all staff members in the building had to receive that training. Now that training on an annual basis is required only of members of the crisis intervention team. And this policy reflects that change.
Mr. Walters?
Yes, I move to recommend to the Board of Education a second reading of Policy 5144.1, Physical Restraint and Seclusion.
Is there a second? It's been properly moved and second. Any questions? Any questions? Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstentions? Motion carries. Number 3, school fundraisers.
School fundraisers is a policy that we're asking the board to consider again tonight to adopt. It basically says that any electronic crowdfunding process undertaken by a teacher in any particular building has to follow these policy guidelines as well as the administrative regulations that have been developed in compliance with this policy. We're trying to, as the district, to ensure that there is some guideline regarding crowdfunding that are going to be followed by the principals of the school as well as the teachers and the staff members in the building. And this policy is an attempt to provide some guidelines for teachers going forward.
Mr. Walters?
Yes. I move to recommend to the Board of Education a second reading of Policy 3281.2, School Fundraisers.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any questions? Any questions? My only comment is that, well, not a comment and a question, that this must go, it must get final approval from whom?
The principal of the school and ultimately from the superintendent or his or her designee.
Okay.
For all fundraisers.
For all
schools fundraising.
all school fundraising, yeah. So,
Through crowdfunding. There are other avenues for funding, for raising funds. Those have to be approved by the principal of the school.
Yeah.
But for crowdfunding, which is GoFundMe and those kinds of avenues, we're looking for a more restrictive way to approve that, and that's why the superintendent is involved.
any final questions?
No, I just want to make a comment,
Go
if I
ahead.
may. Yes, just for clarification and for the viewing audience, we're not sitting here rubber stamping. As you've already indicated that this has been discussed and it's up for the second reading, so we vetted these areas that we've approved tonight already in our committee meetings. So I just wanted people to understand what just happened.
3 times.
3 times.
3 times. Twice in committees and once at a board meeting. Any final questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 9 under new business, Student Academic Review Initiative. Ms. McCann.
Good evening, Board Chair, Superintendent Thompson, board members, and our live viewing audience. Tonight, I will present to you the Student Academic Review, a new initiative that is being implemented in grades 2 through 6. The Student Academic Review is a comprehensive model that provides schools with a framework for analyzing authentic student work. You may be asking, how is this different from our current data teaming system? And as we walk through the PowerPoint, it will become clear. While this methodology may be new to the district, our superintendent is very familiar with this process. And during his tenure as the principal of a Hartford elementary school, the United States Department of Education recognized this school as a national model for improving student performance. One of the hallmarks of that school's success was the implementation of the academic review model. So we know this works when implemented with fidelity. Inside your folder is a document pulled directly from the United States Department of Education's website, which highlights the success of the academic review initiative. You can reference this at your leisure, but it really tells the success story. Again, United States Department of Education, nationally recognized model. So the purpose tonight, we're going to examine and learn about the Student Academic Review Model as a tool to improve teaching and learning and high academic performance. The process that we'll take tonight is that we'll share the academic review model, its objectives, its process, and its practices. And the payoff is that we'll have a developed understanding of the Student Academic Review Model. The goal, as I mentioned in our purpose tonight, the goal of the Student Academic Review is to improve teaching and learning and achieve high academic performance as evidenced by multiple data sources, inclusive of performance-based and high-stakes assessments. And as we reference our charts in the room, those are indicative of the track that we are on. The objectives of the academic review aligns directly with our district accountability plan, with priority 1, holistic accountability, and priority 2, rigorous curriculum instruction and assessment. The objectives are as follows. Number 1 is to ensure that classroom instruction aligns with the new state standards. Secondly, it's to examine and analyze student performance using a structured reflection approach because we are indeed reflective practitioners. Thirdly, it ensures that our teachers are provided the technical support they need in curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Fourth, it helps us to identify the professional development needs of our staff. That includes our teachers and our administrators. And lastly, it definitely complements the 5-step data teaming process, which is often referenced in our holistic accountability priority. The model. Next, I really like to share with you how the academic review model is structured. It starts with our instructional leaders, our building principals, who essentially have the responsibility of coordinating the scheduling of the student academic review sessions. Again, in your folders, you'll see an example from each of our 3 participating schools, Laurel, Metacomet, and Carmen Arrays Intermediate, and that's a sample of a typical day for an academic review. The sessions are scheduled on a monthly basis. You also have in your folders the academic calendar for the 2017-18 school year, and you'll note, as highlighted in dark black ink, the monthly dates for each school throughout the instructional school year. An academic review session with one teacher lasts approximately 20 to 30 minutes. These sessions, they may span a 2-day period. It really depends on the number of teachers. The review team. So here's the composition. School and central office leadership participates. We have content area specialists. We have instructional coaches and consultants, and we also have special education teachers. This review team attends all of the academic review sessions at the participating schools, and I'll discuss with you the process next. So, during the 20 to 30-minute session with the teacher, the building principal facilitates and guides the discussion. Tonight we have in the audience Principal Guzzo, and we also have one of our teachers who will be highlighted soon, but I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that this is a school-based process, and we are the supporting cast, that review team. The teachers share the contents of the student portfolios. And Dr. Thompson, at this time, if you would like, I'd like for you to value add on this part of the process, because it will really speak to what the content of the portfolios contain, which is English language arts and math.
Thank you very much. I'd be more than happy to value add. The portfolios contain authentic student work. Each week, our classroom teachers are asked to include one class assignment, one homework assignment, and any and all assessments that have been administered. At the end of the month, typically when the review process takes place, in a typical folder, it should be 4 class assignments that's been corrected and scored, 4 homework assignments, and also it should be any and all assessments. The review team would, on average, each review team member, on average, would review, depending upon the class, the size of the class, would review anywhere from 3 to 5 portfolios. But collectively, all of the portfolios would have been reviewed by the team. And this process occurs monthly. And as Stacy mentioned, when those portfolios are being reviewed, you're looking at authentic student work. It does complement the data team process, but by reviewing and examining authentic student work, you're able to identify and see things above and beyond data. And it's very revealing and very telling in terms of areas that students can be supported, and also the teachers can be supported via support in the classroom, professional development, what have you. So in a nutshell, that's really what occurs at a review session. And as Stacy indicated, the review composition of the review team will be the principal. It will be any and all curriculum support staff that is assigned to that school, and also it will include members from the cabinet. For example, it will be Stacy would represent, and also Anne Marie and Dr. Silver, and also I will occasionally sit in on the review process. So that's really, in a nutshell, what occurs at a review session. Stacy?
Thanks, Dr. Thompson. And as we shared, these portfolios are maintained by the classroom teachers. And here today is Ms. Barbara Coper, a second grade teacher at Laurel Elementary School, and she will share with you the contents of her classroom portfolios.
Thank you for having me here tonight. You're all going to receive a binder, and you will see my student work. My student work, I'm very proud of my students. They work very hard and coming up with this model. Dr. Thompson gave us the directive to put together an academic review folder. I chose to do a binder model. So when you receive your binder, when you open it up, you will see a rubric. The rubric is child-friendly, and it is based on a 4-point scale. So 4, 3, 2, and 1. All the students would love to receive a 4 for all the work that they do, so they work very hard to get there. When you open up the binder, you will see that there is a September tab. Underneath that were the 2 assignments that we were asked to put in, a homework assignment and a classwork assignment. We did not have the rubric at that point. We were asked to implement the rubric in October. The students are involved in this whole entire process. They are involved with looking at their work, grading their work, and fixing their work if there's more work to be done. When you take a look at October, under the October tab, you will see that the students' scores are right on that page. You will see the standards that the teachers have discussed that align with the state standards, how we are working on them in both classwork and homework. For instance, if you take a look at the October tab, we were working on RL 2.1, which was to ask and answer such questions as who, what, where, when, and why, and how to demonstrate understanding key details of a text. These are items that are taken from our classroom, what we do during the day, and what is sent home to the parents at night. You can take a look through October and see that we worked on different stories. They had independent classwork to do, modeled classwork, and homework that was handed in. As you look through and you see the student work, you can tell what students are struggling, what students have mastered the concept that we're working on, and which students are ready to move on. We use a variety of methods. We have been working on highlighting main ideas and details. We've been working on highlighting vocabulary as well. I am in constant contact with my parents. If something is not received, I do call. They all have my home phone number. They are allowed to call me at any time about anything. So I have very high expectations for all of my students. The second grade team gets together twice a week for 30 minutes. We discuss exactly what we are going to do, where we are now, what standard we're going to focus on next, and if one of our classes seems to be going a little faster than others, we have a plan on what we are to do beyond that. So we all know where we are, where we need to go, and where we're going. If you look towards November, and you flip the November tab up, you can see that the students are also being, or I should say, looking at different standards. 2.3 was to describe how characters in a story respond to major events and challenges. This was one of the areas that my students struggled in, so I had to reflect upon how I was teaching, and I had to figure out what would be the best way to reach all of my students. Towards the end of November, actually all the way at the end, I really value highly parent involvement. I did send home a story with all of my students called Alexander, Who Used to Be Rich Last Sunday. Each of the students went home with the story and these questions. They are multiple choice questions. They were asked to read the story with their parents or have their parents read the story to them. They were asked to go back into the text and find the actual page numbers where the answers were to be found. Every single one of my students returned the paper with a parent signature.
It's impressive.
Very much so. In December, you will see that I've included their first trimester report card. And this is in here because I used my binders for my report card conferences. This is what I showed my parents. This is what they saw, their students' work. They could see where their children were flourishing, they could see where they were having issues, and they asked me how they could help. So, as a tool going forward, I really believe that this will be something that not only I will value at the end of the year, the parents will value seeing their children's growth, and the third grade teachers who receive this work will be able to look and see what their children did in second grade and have a good picture of where to start with them in third grade. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ask a question.
Any questions? Like that, I'm sorry. No, we'll wait till you finish.
More things to say.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, better wrap things up.
And so think of a typical academic review day. We're sitting around the table, our visiting team, we have a teacher such as Ms. Copa sharing student work samples. We're looking at it with a laser-like focus. We're paying attention to the standards. We're identifying those strengths and areas for improvement. And then we make recommendations. And we provide ongoing monitoring and professional development as a result of that. I don't know if you noticed, but Ms. Copa said that in September they didn't have rubrics. And so, born out of the conversations with the review team, we recommended that rubrics be implemented. The team collaboratively came up with a rubric to be utilized in the classroom, and then we saw the fruits of their labor. So, to conclude, as we get to the final slide, the student academic review model, it truly provides a cycle for improving teaching and learning, and this visual highlights the process, starting with the top box. The authentic student work samples are shared by the teacher during the academic review session. The team then collaboratively identifies the strengths and areas for improvement. Professional development and follow-up support is provided for the classroom teacher, and we provide professional development in a variety of ways. We have the job-embedded professional development where teachers collaborate during their common planning time. We utilize the data teaming process for professional development. The district has half and full days for professional development, and we also use consultants and teacher leaders and district coaches to really go in and model and coach for teachers and allow for teachers to observe best practices. And then lastly, the ongoing monitoring, it really ensures that the strategies are being implemented and in support of raising student achievement. So this concludes our presentation, and we hope that you have a better understanding of the academic review model. And we look forward to January, where we'll be sitting with each and every teacher in grades 2 through 6 and going through each and every student's work.
Mrs. Bolton.
Yes, I had a question. No, thank you. Yes. So first of all, I would like to just commend you, Ms. Kofi. It's obvious that you're an exemplar for this wonderful work, and I'm just totally impressed. I see hours and hours of time represented here. And so with that, my question to you, Stacy, or Dr. Thompson, would be, When do teachers have the time to work on this? Or is that embedded in their regular workday?
It is embedded in their regular workday, and even principals have gone above and beyond to provide additional time throughout the day for teachers to collaborate. If you, and Barbara, you want to share about your additional time?
Sure, we do have 2 30-minute sessions, which go very quickly.
Right.
This is a very new process to us, so there is a lot of deliberation between teachers. This is a process that I came up with. It was done at home. This is something that does take a lot of time, like you stated. So, you know, it's a work in progress, and I think everyone can get to this point with the support of the cabinet and the board.
Good. And then just the other question may I
No,
ask
keep
too?
going.
Okay, so the other question is, Ms. Copa, you had mentioned, or Stacy, you mentioned that from those particular academic reviews, one of the recommendations was having a rubric. Can you talk about a couple of other recommendations that are made as a result of these monthly reviews?
Absolutely. For our second grade team, rubrics were born out of this. I would say at our Metacomic community, we took a closer look at the 90-minute literacy block, ensuring that our teachers had all of the elements for a 90-minute literacy block. We also have Pat Pavelko, who comes in and works with our teachers as a follow-up to some of the academic review model. At our CASE community, there was a big push around family and community engagement with homework. As a result of that process, their return of homework rate spiked. So I think that teachers would all say that they've been able to be reflective. A professional learning community has been strengthened. We already meet common planning time, but the level of coherence now, I think, has definitely been strengthened. And it's been 2 months, and we still have a ways to go, but our teachers are adapting to this process.
Mr. Ike and then Mr. Friedman.
This is rigorous and high expectations. I like that word you used, high expectations. There was an article, you know, about those 2 little girls who class presidents, and they were, how there was, they had to put in the paper because they were elected class president. Because they're from Hartford, there was such low expectations for the young girls. That's what I read. But this is rigorous, this is high expectations. If you move this to the regular work world, a lot of people be in trouble. A lot of people be in trouble, boy. Woo, this is something. And also, this is in addition to the regular yearly teacher evaluation.
Well,
Wow.
This is not evaluation.
I know it's not evaluation, but this, well, it's not evaluation, but you got to be on top of, you just can't be in the classroom, you know, diddling around.
You got to be on top of your game.
Oh, you got to be on top of your game.
Focus.
Oh, yeah, you got to be serious.
Thank you.
So, yeah, this is
You're
serious.
serious.
Mr. Friedman?
Thank you. A couple quick questions. First of all, congratulations, a lot of work. How many students did you put these together for?
20.
20. And how many hours do you think it took, you know, even at home, putting this together?
It depends. You know, we're grading as we go along, so these are papers that we grade for homework and we grade for classwork, but the actual labor of putting that together I saw as an investment, because once it was put together, then I can use it.
Right.
So it's a lot of work, but over a long amount of time it pays off. So
setup was.
In the future, is there any way for you maybe to streamline this by having you put it on a computer program so it's, you know, you have a little easier job than putting together all these? This is a lot.
Yes, I think the way to streamline that would be to have a district binder that's created for teachers that have the tabs put already in them, labeled by month, September through June, and whatever other tabs that were in there. That took me a lot of time to put that together. It can be standardized, I do believe that, and I believe if you give a teacher a standardized method to use, to be organized, that is something that will be much easier for us to implement this into our everyday work.
And my final question, just for my own peace of mind, what do the scores correlate to? 3, 2, 4?
The rubric.
The rubric.
Oh,
the rubric.
Which is in the front, which is,
Right.
it is
I
a
missed
nice,
it. I missed it.
Yeah.
no, it is a nice thing, and I will
Right
read
there.
it because the kids, this is for the kids, it also does give us an idea of exactly where they are. So 4 would be, exemplary, above grade level. 3 would be goal, 2 would be basic, and 1 would be below basic. So for us, that's the language that we have. But for the kids, this is what they see up in our classroom. They see 4 is all I did. I did all you asked of me and more, and that's why I got a 4. And every kid wants a 4. 3 is I did what you asked of me, and that is why I got a 3. 2 is there was more that I could do, and that's why I got a 2. And they will ask you, why did I get the 2? How do I get a 3? How do I get a 4? They're very invested in this. When I go over these binders with my kids, they will say to me, when will I see mine? And I can't get through all of them in a day. So I spread them out. So I might get through 2, 3, 4 in a week, and then they're like, when do I see mine? When do I see mine? And then when they go over their work, if you look on the back, this is where they've colored their picture, they get stickers for all the work that they've done, and we have a discussion about what they can do better.
So their learning almost becomes a gift at the end.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Walters?
Yes, I don't have questions, I just have some comments. First of all, what an exciting opportunity for the students, the professionals, the teachers, because you're talking about sending home homework and the parent having to be engaged, so that's parent engaged with the school and their child. Then you all meet, second grade teachers meet together, so that's building relationships and community within the school. So it's just an empowering process for everyone that's involved. Students are empowered, and I think teachers are empowered, and then parents are empowered. So it's just a collaboration of people pushing and prodding children to do their very best. And the language that you use for your rubrics is language that they understand, and it's not disempowering to them if they are at a 2. The way you say it, it's not saying, oh boy, it's engaging them, and it's really providing them with the desire to do better, because you said they're asking, how do I get a 3?
Right.
So word choice is very important, language is very important for the students. And you want to say something, say something, say it, because I want to say some more.
I need to say that I work with an amazing team of second grade teachers. Jill DeLisa, who is a second grade teacher with me, she did find the rubric, and she brought it to the team meeting, and then we adopted it from there. I have an amazing principal, Mr. Guzzo. I couldn't ask for anyone better to be a leader for us. So we have a lot of support, and I'm very lucky to be at Laurel Elementary. I love it there, and they are my family.
And that's what we're talking about, family relationship, building trust and team and working together. Another other piece I have is, you said, so the second graders, when they finish second grade and they go to third grade, the third grade teachers have an opportunity to?
I'm planning on sending the work up. So
She's keeping her binder, though.
I will.
Right, with all her tabs in it.
Remember, they're going to another school.
Together with a binder clip and send that up, but I'm going, until the district gives me binders, even mine.
That's right. So is this like looping? Is there a similarity? Is there a difference? I mean, so you sort of, I guess the connection, you're not sending them off to third grade and just dropping them off, but you're sending them with something, so that teacher already is connected with
Right.
That's why I'm asking the question, Mrs. Bolton, if you allow me to.
So from year to year, Mr. Walters.
Yeah, so that the
television.
teacher is not just getting a student and not having any information. It's sharing that information so they have an awareness of what's going on. Again, and that's community too.
Absolutely.
From one school to the other, transition.
Let me get over to the other side of the room. Mrs. Davis?
Yes, I'd just like to say you are an excellent elementary school teacher. Your personality and the way you presented it to us and to the viewing public is very admirable, and I truly appreciate it. And I really like the fact that you took the time to do this and how important it is as a second grade teacher getting our kids off to the right start. In this particular, adding in the parent and the community piece is very important, because a lot of times parents don't even really understand exactly what it is that their kids are doing all day. And if you're sending home a project, read a story and then let's answer it together. That's very important. And your team that you speak of, and they're all, are they clones of you?
We work very closely together, yes. They are all near and dear to my heart, and we work all equally just as hard. Things might look a little different, but we all want very high expectations for all of our students. So, yes.
Can I ask, how long have you been in the district?
I've been in the district 5 years.
5 years. How about the teachers that have been there a little bit longer? Were they a little bit more resistant?
Shannon Buzzle
Yes.
is one of our second grade members. She is the current teacher of the year for Bloomfield. Jill DeLisa, Mrs. de Blasio, Miss Frazier, and Mrs. Wenner. So those are all the people. I think, did I leave anyone out? Oh, Mrs. Morella, my best friend there.
He missed Miss Frazier.
So
those teachers have been around in the district for a while as well, and this is something that you all have incorporated into our learning at Laurel School.
Dr. Thompson has asked grades 2 through 6 to do this at this time. So yes, we're putting this together. Like I said, this is a very new process for us, but we're working very hard.
You're doing a great job, and I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other final comments? I think it's been well said. I thank you for the presentation. I thank you for your efforts. I thank Mr. Puzo for being the person at the helm that's kind of keeping this moving along. Thank you.
Right, and I also want to acknowledge Rose, our instructional coach at Laurel Elementary School, who also is a cheerleader to the teachers in supporting them through this process. So,
Thank
If you
you.
look, just quickly, I have to do a shout out. Rose created this for us, which is where we put our standards, our work that the children do, the entry dates, and the rubric scores, and if it's classwork, homework, and assessment, or performance tasks. So we do have other members of our staff that work very hard with us as well.
Truly teamwork.
it's a professional learning community.
Yes, community, yeah.
Thank you. Make sure you get all your notebooks.
Here they are, here they are.
Because she
I know
will
she is.
track you down.
No, she will hunt you down.
Okay, item B, the approval of the 2018-19 academic calendar. Mr. Walters.
Yes, Mr. Harris. I move to recommend for approval the 2018-2019 academic calendar as presented.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any questions? Any questions? Hearing none. Go ahead,
I do.
Mrs. Bolton.
I'm just wondering, is there still a common Greater Hartford area calendar is that something that's used, or Dr. Thompson, or is that?
There is, of late, there's the calendar that we have to collaboratively subscribe to that's really driven by CREC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a template in which we have to adapt our calendar.
Oh, I see. That's
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is so moved. CABE updates, I gave you the main update, and that was Dr. Thompson receiving the Superintendent of the Year award. But additionally, at the CABE conference, November 16th and 18th, our Board of Education received the CABE 2 Leadership Award for the fourth time in a row. Fourth year in a row.
Deserves a round of applause.
Our Board of Ed also received the CABE Award for our newsletter.
And we have to really recognize Krista, because Krista's really has taken a leadership and done a phenomenal job with this newsletter that you receive every month at the regular board meeting. So kudos to Krista.
Thank you. And that kind of does it for CABE. Board comments. Mr. Ike?
Yes, from a historic perspective, having sat in this chair off and on for the last 20 years, it was very proud at the CABE convention, given where we were to where we are now. Dr. Thompson, I want to congratulate you, your team, and the parents, and especially the students, because without them, without you providing the tools and them grasping the concepts to move the district forward. So I want to thank you. It was very heartwarming to see you and your family there. It was very heartwarming. And Principal Bolton, I want to welcome you. You weren't here at the last meeting.
That's right.
To the board.
Thank
see
you.
you on this side.
That's right.
Happy holidays, everyone. I'm going on my annual cruise, and you people have a good time.
Mr. Friedman?
Cruise, huh? Yeah. Well, maybe I'll join you. Last month, we talked about thanks. I think December, we talk about celebration. Once again, I want to send my congratulations to our superintendent of the schools. I was not only stunned, I was so pleased. I was up there taking your picture and clapping, sending it to newspapers. You know, as our superintendent of schools, we struck gold with you. We had a lot of celebrations in Bloomfield this year. You know, the 100-year anniversary of our school, our Bloomfield High School, you know, our ranking of our school system. So we have so much to celebrate, and hopefully folks all through Bloomfield, all through Connecticut are seeing the great things that are taking place in our school system. Couple things I do want to state for our young people, for everyone. Make sure you wash your hands. It's flu season. I don't need to get anybody who's cold. And lastly, once again, let me, as the first night of Hanukkah, I want to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah, and also a happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, and have a very prosperous new year. Thank you.
Mrs. Davis?
I'd just like to say, again, to the superintendent, he's always been there for me as an individual, and I thank him for the services that he's provided to our district. I am so very proud to be a part of this team right now. I'm so very proud to be a Bloomfield resident. I'm so very proud that we are moving in the right direction with Dr. Thompson and his cabinet. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. To viewing public, we need your support. We need you to continue to send your kids to school with expectations, high expectations, so that we all can stay on the same team. And at this time, I just want to wish everyone a very happy holiday, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
You know, I just want to say that I'm truly honored to have the opportunity to serve in a district that has and attracts such top-tier talent. You know, it's a privilege. Coming into the end of the year, you know, we see the success, we see the trajectory on these charts, and the rigor, as Mr. Ike would say, is definitely shown. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate you and all the work that you do. And then, as I always say, you know, it is our differences that truly make us a stronger community. Thank you.
Mrs. Bolton?
I would like to first just say how proud I am to be a new member on the Board of Ed. And, you know, I've lived in Bloomfield for many, many years. Let's see, Christina's 27, so I'm 27 years. And I am just so proud. Dr. Thompson, you'll never know how proud I am to be able to, as a former educator, and recognizing that there are not many superintendents who look a lot like you who have been recognized in this state. That is just totally remarkable, and we're glad, and no other person that I can think of is better suited for it, so congratulations. I would also like to just discuss my pride in attending the winter concert. I forget the total name, but I had the privilege of seeing the gospel choir and the regular choir and the band, and I was just totally impressed with the music department. And it's those kinds of things that really made me want to be a part, to be able to celebrate, to make sure that we develop policies to ensure that those kinds of things continue. So thank you again. And again to Ms. Copa, I know how difficult it is to present like that. You did a remarkable job, and the team, I know all the support and recognize, I know what it is, what it's like, and I know this is evening where you could be at home grading some more papers. So thank you all so much, really appreciate it.
Mr. Walters?
Yes, I echo just about everything everybody said. You know, when it gets to me, I sort of start repeating what other folks have said. So I'll just do that. And I'll start by congratulating the superintendent for receiving the award at CABE. It was a wonderful convention. In addition to that, I think the cabinet needs to be congratulated too, because as I continue to say, every event that goes on, there are cabinet members that attend. And in referencing the holiday concert, as Mrs. Bolton has already mentioned, what a wonderful, wonderful a concert it was. And to see our students performing, singing solos, playing instruments and having solo parts in the band, it's just so empowering. And again, it not only brings a positive twist to the district, but also engages the community and family, because there are mothers and fathers and uncles and aunts who were there and very proud of their students as they performed either in the chorus or with the band. This academic review, ooh, boy, wow, that's a wow. Ms. Copa and those schools that are involved with this process, I mean, obviously, we're raving about that because we know, as you said, how much it's going to benefit our students. So we really, really appreciate all the work that all the people are doing to see that process occur. You know, I was excited about the data team, but now we have something that deals with real, the here and the now, that's authentic work that our students are doing, which makes it, you know, touch it, feel it. So it's even better than the data teams that I had sat in and attended. The legislative breakfast, that was also well attended, and it's just, you know, you folks, you cabinet members, you superintendent, you know, you do such wonderful, polished kinds of presentations, and sitting there at that legislative breakfast and listening to the presentations and how you talk about areas that you're so passionate about. You know, that's Dan Simpson. You save him for last because he always knocks it home, you know, but it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful to see that the schools are working, the cabinet's working, the superintendent's working, the board is working, the parents are working, everybody's working, pushing and moving in the same direction. So just very proud to be involved with Bloomfield Public Schools, and wishing everyone a very safe and happy holiday and a prosperous new year.
Thank you. I also, I was in attendance at the first annual holiday parade, which is the day before, December 2nd. And it was held at 6 o'clock at night, and it was a little chilly out there.
Cold.
But what a wonderful event it was. You know, all the fire trucks, they were all decorated with lights. The firemen were decorated with lights. I couldn't figure out how they were turning it on because there were no plugs attached to them, but
Everybody was lit up.
everybody was lit up.
Everybody was lit.
It was just a wonderful start, which was culminated with the lighting of the tree, and a wonderful beginning of the holiday season. I echo Mrs. Bolton's comments about the holiday concert over at the Congregational Church. It was just a wonderful event, as it always is, but the venue was a little different this year, which kind of had a warmth to the whole.
Intimacy, yes.
I was also in attendance at the legislative breakfast last Thursday, and you know, I've been to several of them, and I've heard presentations that staff and Dr. Thompson have made in the past, but I always sit there amazed. I said, yeah, we really did all of that. We really have come a long, long way. I've been involved with the Bloomfield school system for a long time, and and I'm just so proud to be sitting in this position. Additionally, Dr. Thompson and I made a presentation on December 7th, to a new board member workshop, and where we talked about some of the reasons we are successful. And one reason that we are successful is, as a board, we stay in our lane. In other words, we don't micromanage. We let the superintendent run the system. He, his staff, we stay in our lane, and that has led to our success. Mrs. Bolton,
Yes, sir.
I welcome you to the board. I welcome Mrs. Davis. I said that to her at the last meeting, but I have one correction for you. There's no such thing as a former educator. Once an educator, always an educator.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And to our entire listening audience and those audience right here, happy holidays and a very happy and safe New Year, and we'll see you next year. I'll entertain a motion.
Second?
We are adjourned.
Oh, okay, let's go. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Howard?
Grab it.
Well, I'm sure you're aware of this. My question is, what do I tell people who say, who ask me about that?
I was about to bounce. He's going to turn off the audio.
Okay, so that's not what I heard.
Wait until that make the
No, before he,